We are honored to invite you to the fourth annual Mission for Healthy Heroes on February 22nd, 2025. This day-long event is dedicated to serving those who serve us, focusing on the invisible battles our heroes face: mental health, homelessness, and reintegration challenges. Over the past 3 years, we've shared stories of resilience and hope. This year, we're amplifying our mission, spotlighting 4 incredible organizations that are making a real impact. The donations and sponsorships will go to helping these groups. We are honored to invite you to the 4th annual Mission for Healthy Heroes on February 22nd, 2025. This day-long event is dedicated to serving those who serve us, focusing on the invisible battles our heroes face: mental health, homelessness, and reintegration challenges. Over the past 3 years, we've shared stories of resilience and hope. This year, we're amplifying our mission, spotlighting 4 incredible organizations that are making a real impact. The donations and sponsorships will go to help. Hey there, good Monday to everyone. It is Footprints Forward. My name is Zach Clayton, president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channel. We are on our way to the February 22nd, 22-hour podcast, and today is going to be quite a bit of information about that event. I've been doing a lot of studies on, as I should, right? The one thing that I don't want to do is sit here and try to host an event and not be prepared for it. Some of the things that I've found are just absolutely horrifying. And I put together this video the other day because it really tells you the why. Why are we doing this, and why is Mission for Healthy Heroes so important? Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Clayton, and I need your help for an upcoming event called Mission for Healthy Heroes. This 4th year of our 22-hour podcast is happening on February 22nd, 2025, and is dedicated to tackling one of the most pressing issues facing our critical country and community heroes today: suicide prevention and mental health. We're bringing together experts, advocates, and individuals who live with experience to have an honest and impactful conversation about challenges our heroes face and how we as a community can help. For our communities, these tragedies often stem from complex factors like mental health challenges, including PTSD, depression, and substance abuse, family strain, and feelings of isolation when transitioning to civilian life, career stressors like financial instability or workplace difficulties, easy access to firearms during moments of crisis, and systemic barriers like the stigma around asking for help and gaps in support systems. This is a problem that needs us all, Professionals, advocates, families, and communities working together to find solutions. That's why I'm reaching out to you. We're looking for guest speakers to join this important conversation. Whether you're a mental health professional who works with our heroes, family members or spouses who understand the challenges of this complex family lifestyle, advocates or nonprofit leaders supporting our heroes, researchers or policy experts working on systemic solutions, or a survivor who can share your personal story. We need to hear from you. Your voice and expertise could save lives by helping us shed the light on these issues and explore meaningful solutions. If you are interested in participating, know someone who should be part of this discussion, please reach out to me directly. You can use the information found right below me or by scanning this QR code. You can sponsor, you can volunteer, you can speak, and you can save lives. Because together we can create a powerful conversation that drives awareness and action. Let's honor our heroes by supporting them when they need us the most. Thank you for watching this short video, and thank you for caring about our hero community. Let's work together to make a real difference. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you. Again, scan the QR code or use the information below, and let's make action count. There is something very, very important that I need to make sure that we are talking about. And this is such a serious problem where we as civilians need to take and not put aside our beliefs. I don't want to say that, okay? I fully believe that gun owners should own guns. I fully believe that not everyone should have automatic weapons. I fully believe that if a person is well in mind and well in health and well trained, by God, let him have one. I don't care about that. But I also fully believe having a loaded weapon is having a loaded weapon. We're going to be talking about things in situations where people had access to these fully loaded weapons, and if they wouldn't have, it would have saved their lives. I'm asking everyone to join us and give us their alternatives, okay? I would like to hear, and I'm going to say this, and this may become shocking or whatever, but I would like to see somebody from the left, somebody from the right, and somebody who is centrist, other than myself. Join us and let's have a, not debate, but an agreement on what it would look like if we put partisan politics aside and put mental health in the forefront. So I challenge you. I challenge anybody out there. Come on, let's talk about this. I will tell you this right now. If it gets too political, I'll cut you off and you'll be gone, because this is not what it's about. This is about our heroes, and this is about how they deserve to live. They deserve to live happy and be healthy. Owning a gun is a wonderful right. It is in our Constitution. It's a right that should never go away, as is most of the rights in the Constitution. Matter of fact, all of the rights in the Constitution. But there's got to be safety in it. And if someone is struggling, we need to make sure that we're protecting them as well. I don't care how much of a gun owner and gun rights advocate you are. The senseless death of anyone is not okay. So we really would like to talk to you and talk to anyone on all sides. And let's discuss this in an adult way. Scan the QR code right beside me and join us on the show. We are starting to put together the schedule today, and the schedule does look like this. We have different sponsorship packages, and there are certain times where those sponsorships are only going to the higher sponsors. And we're doing that as an award to them and as a thank you to them. But we also want to make sure that, even the people who can't give the $250 or $400 sponsorship, they get good times they can sponsor. So don't worry. This is 22 hours. We're looking to fill all 22 hours. Okay. We need your help doing so. One of our sponsors that we've got back for a third consecutive year, and I am so thrilled to have him back, is my buddy Les Simpson. And Les sent me a video that he would like me to share with you all, and I would like to this is his new thing, and I'm going to tell you something. We had 2 interviews with this gentleman that you're going to watch in this video, and this is the first one. This is the first of the trainings, and I encourage you, pay attention to this because this is really pretty cool. A lot of the things that we were talking about just make sense. And look, I'm the first to tell you, I am not a huge fan of business coaching, and I'm not a huge fan of sales coaching and all this stuff. Okay. I think a lot of it is incorrect. Then again, that could be one of the reasons why I'm not a multimillionaire right now and we are struggling to stay alive. But I don't think that's true. I really think that they have this program going well. But I do want to let you know we will be getting back to a mission of Healthy Heroes as soon as I play this video for Les. And we are going to relive one of the interviews from a previous episode. So this is my buddy Les Simpson, who is rejoining the Community Pay It Forward program for his 3rd consecutive year. Les, welcome home. We are so glad to have you, my brother in giving.
Hi there, J.W. Wilson here, founder and executive director at the Learning Code Institute. And I want to welcome you to your very first Cracking the Sales Code module. And before we dive in, there are a few quick tips that we want to share with you that will help you get the most sales results possible out of this program. First of all, this course will likely look completely different from any course you have ever taken before. Most of our participants, like you, are shocked when they learn about the structure of our disruptive courses and how they work. Beginning today, you will only receive 1 to 2 of these Cracking the Sales Code episodes, which we call Learning Adventures. You only get 1 or 2 of these per week, and we will deliver them to you one at a time. Now, you may be wondering why we are delivering information to you in such a different manner than you're used to on the web. Well, here's the reason why. In order for your brain to retain any new information, it needs to go through all 4 stages of the cycle of transformation. And these are information, action, feedback, and incubation. For now, do not concern yourself with all those details, because we will explain exactly how this cycle works in much greater depth in your upcoming learning adventures. The important piece for you to realize is that traditional courses that are not based on neuroscience deliver so much information to your brain so quickly that they leave your brain physically unable to absorb the content delivered. What's it feel like? It feels like drinking water from a fire hose. And this is exactly why 90% of the people who sign up for traditional online courses never, ever complete them. Worst of all, this outdated teaching style, which we've been using since the time of Aristotle, causes most of us to only retain 3 to 5% of what we try to learn. So, by only providing you with a small amount of relevant information at a time in our shorter 3 to 10 minute long learning adventures, we allow your brain the time it biologically needs to commit your new learning to memory so you can use it, not only to elevate your sales process, but to improve your life and the lives of others. Better yet, perhaps the most disruptive feature of our new courses, these learning adventures, is that we include real-world actions for you to take, which we call access triggers. Access triggers are hands-on activities you will complete in the real world so your brain gets the feedback it needs to ensure that your new learning is locked into your brain structures to stay, so you can finally get the results in your personal and professional life that you have always been dreaming of. Thank you for choosing to unlock the neuroscience of sales with us. And without further ado, let's get on with your very first Cracking the Sales Code adventure right now. Hi, J.W. Wilson here, founder and executive director of the Learning Code Institute, where we are considered the world leader in understanding the neuroscientific basis of how we learn, change our behaviors, and motivate ourselves and others. We are delighted that you have chosen to join us for Cracking the Sales Code, how to use neuroscience to position your brand as #1 in its field. Whether you're in big ticket sales, you do door-to-door sales, operate from a call center, or whatever you sell, whether it be real estate, cars, financial services, stocks, pharmaceuticals, insurance, consumer goods, whatever. Whatever your niche is, the material you are about to receive will not only break your thinking machine about the fastest ways to achieve exceptional sales, it will give you a whole new paradigm as to how to amass a tribe of followers who want more of you and more of what you are selling. And we at the Learning Code Institute personally guarantee that each of you are going to enjoy and reap huge benefits from these groundbreaking adventures in sales. Some of you are familiar with us, but for those who aren't, allow me to provide you a little background on how Cracking the Sales Code came about. Over the last 30 years, our passion at the Learning Code Institute has been, as we mentioned earlier, to dive deeper into the latest neuroscience discoveries on how we actually learn and change our behaviors. Specifically, the powerful role your biology plays in activating the brain structures and even the genes that dramatically accelerate your customers' learning and buying process. If we would have realized the depth and complexity of this subject 3 decades ago, I honestly don't know if we would have embarked on this journey of discovery. But thank goodness we did. We're so glad we're here with you. This journey into how our brains and biology actually learn is an entire universe unto itself, drenched in complexity, more than we could have imagined. And yet, step by step, hour after hour, year after year, and thousands of scientific papers and books on neuroscience, genetics, quantum theory, epigenetics, biology, chaos theory, all that research later that we dove into, we arrived at a breakthrough in understanding the scientific basis of how to dramatically accelerate the speed and depth of learning, motivation, and behavior change. After publishing our best-selling book, Cracking the Learning Code, the science that is transforming how the world learns, motivates, and changes behaviors, numerous thought leaders and business executives and educators have called it the greatest learning discovery of the 21st century. Just as importantly as the science behind the learning code is what we did next. We began to develop practical, easy-to-understand applications to use this powerful scientific-based learning technology for specific interest groups like teachers, homeschool parents, addiction counselors, finance managers, and yes, people like you, sales professionals, which leads us to today. You are about to enter the rare air of knowledge about the most disruptive and effective sales tool and strategy ever created. Now, before I go further, I want to acknowledge that if you're an advanced skilled salesperson right now, it is likely that you will recognize that you're already using a lot of these strategies today. Certainly, the last 75 years of trial and error by thousands and thousands of salespeople have produced practices that do indeed produce results. We're not saying that they don't work, but ask yourself, how much work and how many mistakes were made to discover these few gems that really work for you right now? Imagine having at your fingertips a deep understanding of how your customers are thinking at any given situation at any moment, and then provide them with exactly what they need based on the latest neuroscientific understanding of what is happening in their brain. It changes everything. I'd also like to mention that our team includes multiple contributors who have strong sales backgrounds. They are highly experienced and have been very successful in sales, sales management, and in numerous industries that range from Fortune 100 to small businesses. In their careers, they have designed courses, written articles, and trained others in ways that have been very helpful into creating what we believe to be the finest sales course in the world. There have been volumes of books and courses on sales, many of them providing really valuable insights into how to increase productivity and sales rates. We believe Cracking the Sales Code stands alone, delivering disruptive information that has never been available to salespeople before. It's about understanding how the brain works and responds to your messaging. And for the first time, replaces trial and error with scientific-based strategies to effectively accomplish these goals, making more sales and creating more exceptional customer satisfaction. So again, I want to welcome you to Cracking the Sales Code. And in your next learning adventure, we're going to provide a more in-depth overview of the structure of this course and the ways it has been designed to produce better results than any course you have ever taken. So we'll see you shortly for an overview of this exciting adventure in sales. As you will see in these learning modules, which we call learning adventures, there is not a lot of the traditional kinds of homework you experienced in other academic and online courses. As you're going to learn in future learning adventures, we use what we call the cycle of transformation, which is specifically designed to activate specific brain structures and neurochemical systems that create the kind of learning in you that sticks. More on the cycle of transformation and how you can use it to accomplish and accelerate the mental, physical, and monetary return to you in the future. These learning code courses really adventures, are not like drinking out of the fire hose of memorization and tests. They're designed to have your brain naturally and effortlessly encode the learning you need to succeed in life. So today, the only thing we would like you to do is sit in an easy chair or take a walk. Take a few minutes and ask yourself this question. Is what I have been doing in my sales efforts giving me the results that I demand? And then take a few minutes to reflect on it. But here's the important part. Don't BS yourself so you look good. Just ask yourself that question. This is really all you got to do today. Ask yourself this question, reflect on it, and we will revisit it in future learning adventures and discuss it more. I'm so looking forward to seeing you in the next learning adventure where we will peel the onion even more so you can apply the latest learning and marketing science to your brands and sales efforts right now.
Hello, my name is Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I'd like to take a real quick minute to tell you why we have created a mission for healthy heroes. First responders are our everyday heroes, rushing towards danger when others step away. But behind the bravery lies a silent struggle with mental health. Research shows that 85% of first responders experience mental health challenges, like depression and PTSD. These conditions are significantly more common amongst them than in the general population. Did you know that 35% of police officers and up to 24% of 911 dispatchers live with PTSD? And tragically, first responders are more likely to die by suicide than in the line of duty. In 2017 alone, 103 firefighters and 140 police officers died by suicide. In comparison, 93 firefighters and 129 officers were killed in line of duty. These numbers are heartbreaking, and they highlight the urgent need for mental health support. Yet many remain reluctant to seek help due to the stigma, concerns about confidentiality, and fear of career consequences. Mental health matters. Support our first responders. Together, we can make a difference. Join us on February 22nd for a mission for healthy heroes. Visit communitypayitforward.us/mission for healthy heroes or use the QR code above to become a sponsor today. My name is Zach Clayton, and I hope you join us. Thank you. Joining us now is a guy I met a couple weeks ago. Consider him a really good friend. More importantly, he's a really, really good guy. Lot of hero services, Kyle. Your work with in the medical field and EMT and all this other stuff really makes you valuable to your community, and I think valuable to what we're doing because you can bring to light some of the things that are needed by so many. So I'd like to introduce Kyle Goodnight of kylegoodnight.com. Tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do, my friend.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Zach. So my name's Kyle Goodnight. I'm a first responder paramedic. I'm also a respiratory therapist. Was a therapist first, and then I went over into the first responder world about 20 years ago. Total of 26 plus years in the healthcare field and first responder stuff. So 20 of it is first responder. So what I'm actually doing is I've had an incident where I had my own PTSI. It was a blindside, I call it, because it was not expected. And I found myself in a rut, right? I found myself in a spiral, and I was was trained well enough with my mentors that I was able to raise my hand and say, "Hey, something's not right. I don't know what's wrong. I just know it's not right." Right. So,
Right.
my mentor came to my home a day after my shift when all this stuff went down. And it wasn't just one thing. It was the same thing, but multiple times in a very short period of time. And she deemed me to like, "Hey, are you willing to go get some help?" And I said, "Absolutely." I was like, "Because I don't like feeling like this. I know it's gonna cause problems in more parts of my life, and not just with my work." So I went and got some help, and got on the other side of it. And then I'm sitting there in a class one time, a big lecture. It was a seminar about EMS, and it's the same stuff up on stage. It's 12 leads, it's trauma care, it's difficulty breathing, the difficult airway. And I'm like, yeah, those are all great, and we train on that a lot. One thing we've never got training on is how to build and fortify ourselves. From the beginning of my career, and goes back into the schooling. I went to school back in 97, so that ages me. There was no hospital, there was no training on the hospital side respiratory about resilience and how to package things properly when we see what we see. And in EMS, there wasn't any training back then for us ourselves. I ended up speaking to several people as I started to build this course, because when I was sitting in that classroom, I'm like, I need to build a course about us. Because I know we have a problem, we have a stigma, we have that inability to say, hey, I do feel a little wonky as a whole, as a first responder whole, and that includes firefighters, EMTs, police, emergency dispatchers, corrections officers, all those first responders, right? And I ended up talking to several during my research on this. I talked to one police officer who was like, I said, "Hey, how much training do you get in the academy?" He's like, 2 hours. I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome. 2 hours a week. That's what you guys are doing now. That's great. You guys totally need that." He's like, "No." He's like, 2 hours for the entire time we talk about ourselves. And I'm like, "Oh, that's a problem. 2 hours isn't
Yeah.
enough. We know it takes anywhere between 66 days and 285 days, I think, as the research said, to establish a habit. And to establish self-care and to establish resilience, you need to do it over time with someone who's been there and done that and can help you. So basically, that's what I'm doing. I've created a course. I've found some very good tools and knowledge and things that tie a lot together. That things that tied together for me, including before I became a medical professional, so like it goes back that far. And a lot of people don't understand that that's tied together. Our brain health, our communication with our family, whether that's you're married and have a wife and kids, or whether that's your parents when you're a young EMT or a young firefighter or police officer, and you don't have a true family yet. You may only have your family as in your mom and dad and brothers and sisters, or whatever your dynamic is. That is still important too, because if they don't understand your world, then that's a stressor, right? And of course, it's not all about the stress we see on scene. It's not all about that. It's the stress about your home life. You're away from your family for extended periods of time. And this is why it even goes into like the hospital realm. Hospital realm people, I worked 12-hour shifts at the hospital, sometimes 3 days in a row, sometimes over weekends, where everything was going on with the rest of my family because they're not in healthcare, or most of them weren't in healthcare. My wife's a nurse. So, I mean, that was a double whammy, right? So it was one of those things where it's not just what we see and what we deal with at the job. It's also what we deal with at home. I mean, the other day it snowed 8 inches in like an hour here where I live, and I wasn't there to help clear it all, and that doesn't feel great. I want to be
Yeah.
there, like my wife's out there with her broken finger trying to because the dog's broke her finger a couple months ago, and it's still healing. She's out there trying to move 8 inches of snow. That's not fun for her. I don't like that. My garage door, anytime it's ever any problems that happened, and this is Murphy's / first responders law, if you will. If anything goes wrong, it's when you're on duty, right? Car broke down when she was 8 months pregnant. I couldn't get to her. I was in the middle of a shift, garage door bust. She can't get out of the garage to go to work and I can't, I'm not there to help lift it because it's a heavy, once that spring, everybody knows once the spring breaks, it's a very heavy door. But luckily, we have neighbors, thank God. But, that's all part of it. It's not just what we see on scene. It's how we bridge the gap and how we come back home and present ourselves too. If we present ourselves under that same stress that we were just in, then that's not good for our kids, our parents, our wives, our husbands, our significant others, whatever you want to call, who you have at home, who you come home to, your own dogs. If you live by yourself as a first responder and you come home to your dogs, and maybe that's a little caveat because dogs always make me happy no matter what, and unless they've got diarrhea or sick, then I'm really cranky.
Yeah. I got one right now that was pushing up my elbow just a second ago. I kind of look like
I'm surprised mine haven't come and showed their faces. I got big dog. I got 5 dogs. So,
real quick question for you. First off, I want to kind of remind people out there that one of the things that you as EMS has to deal with every day, as just a normal citizen, how aggravating it is when other people are driving. Imagine having to get to a place very quickly, and not because you're running late, because someone's life is in danger,
right,
with the way that these other people drive. Okay,
Yeah.
So that would be one thing. Kyle, please explain to me the difference between PTSD and PTSI.
So how I understand it, and this is the PTSI is a newer term they're starting to use, and even we unfortunately lost a firefighter out in the California area in the beginning of February. And I say we, I mean first responder world. And they put on the public announcement that he succumbed to his struggles with PTSI. So people are starting to use the I, and the I stands for injury or incident. So D is a disorder. I believe when it comes to the disorder, it's a long-term process that is it is a true known disorder. Read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, and they talk, very, very deeply about, everything that goes into the disorder of, post-traumatic stress. Where the PTSI comes in is an injury, an incident, something that happens that it affects you in a way, just that single incident affects you in a way that you feel the same feelings that eventual PTSD people have, but you feel it more abruptly and more acutely, if you will. So, and then, all PTSIs can go into PTSD. Now, the nice thing is if we know that there's PTSI, okay, I just had an incident that I don't feel right. 2 weeks afterwards, and I'm talking like when it comes to time frame, not the day of. A lot of times we can package things well in the first day or two, and then like a week later, something reminds you, and you get the shake. Have you ever got the shake? Anybody's ever got the shake? You think of something because our mind is very powerful. I chop my fingers off on the top of my finger off on a table saw, and once in a while, I'll think of that moment when my finger hit the blade and I shake, and that's a PTSI, right? Now I can move on. Right? Literally, I'm not worried about it now. I'm not dreading on it now. But it's those PTSIs are those little incidences that give you the shake, that give you that weird feeling, that if you can start to understand that that's what that is, you can package it properly. And I'm not saying like, okay, every incident you need to dive deep into therapy. And in even the word therapy anymore, there's so many new things you can do that doesn't involve the word therapy that people don't understand. And that's another thing that I'm bringing to my course is it's not about talk therapy all the time, right? It's about things that you can do for yourself, the mindset, the self-care, the mindfulness and thinking, and how you perceive things. So and then if it gets to the point where you need some form of guidance, there's like I said, it's hard not to say the word therapy, but there's EDMR, there's hypnotherapy, there's all kinds of stuff out there that are proven to make a difference and even destroy years and years and years of trauma of any sort, right? Now, is it overnight? No, just like it's not overnight that you have a PTSD situation. So, my PTSI was, I didn't even realize that it was something that stemmed from my youth until about 3 months ago. And we're sitting in, if this is evergreen, we're sitting to, February 21st of 2024. My incident that sent me for a loop was 5 years ago. And through the process of dealing with that, I came out on the other side feeling great about things and understanding and packaging it properly. I can go on calls now that are similar to the one that happened with me, multiple ones that happened to me in a row, and it was, and my coworkers know that this type of run, they need to check in with me if we go on that kind of run again, because with an EMS, we never know where we're going to get. I mean, hell, I delivered my first baby in 25 years a month ago. You just never know what you're going to get, right? So it's one of those things where the communication, the stripping away the stigma. I think if there's one major message, is that stigma that surrounds us as first responders, that we have to be tough and that we train for this. That's the double-edged sword, or that's the conundrum. A lot of people think that we trained for this. We trained to be able to see the hard stuff. We trained to how to fix it or how to deal with it in the moment. We didn't train for the aftermath. We are starting to, as a whole. I did talk to a couple of EMS class people that run paramedic programs, and I asked them straight up, hey, do you do anything about mental health for the person? Like, not mental health runs where we go mental health patient, but for us. And he said, we're starting to sprinkle it in, because COVID kind of helped that, which is great. A couple of good things that came out of COVID and the shutdowns and the mental health strain that COVID caused, it brought a lot of that up to the light, and people are a little bit more open about it. The stigmas aren't completely stripped, but they're peeling away, right? So if there's, that my course, the first thing we talk about, no matter what, we have to make sure that you come in with a completely open mind and that you have zero stigma towards what you're trying to fix yourself or fix. If it's a loved one that comes into my course, that they're trying to make sure that they don't have a stigma of their loved one that puts them without being able to communicate, issues. So,
one of the things that while you were sitting there talking, one of the things that I remember, one of the that I have with post-traumatic is I slipped on ice, and my foot hit our stone house, and it completely detached my ankle from my leg. And I remember the EMT coming to take me in, and I made a little bit of a sound when I went to go try to move or something like that, and the guy goes, "It's okay if you holler. I mean, that looks like it hurts." And I'm like, "Yeah, but is it really going to do me any good?" And he goes, "It probably make you, probably make you feel a little bit better." And I'm like, "Yeah, I doubt that very seriously, but I love, I knew what it would do is it would just, bring more attention." But
right.
that was a fun time. I couldn't imagine what they thought of when they first walked into the yard, though, because it was the middle of winter. Obviously, there was ice on the ground. You don't get a lot of ice on the ground in the middle of summer. So, hi, go now, please. But my dad came out of the house and threw a cover over me. So these EMS guys come walking up. There's a covered up body on the ground, So I couldn't imagine what they were thinking. It's like, wait, I thought we were here for a leg
injury. For a broken leg, yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. But let me ask you this. Your wife, yourself, working in this, do you two often talk to each other about stressors, or is it better for the relationship and for yourselves to talk to someone else and not, because I could see how, you've got that old saying, leave work at work, leave home at home. And look, that's impossible for anyone. That's the way it is. It's impossible for anyone. But I would imagine it would really be difficult to do that if you two would like really need to talk to each other about that
Right.
to a point. So how do you two manage that?
Well, we didn't manage it for a while, and that's why we faced divorce at one point in time in our marriage. About 12 years in, I came home from a shift, and she's like, "Hey, I'm done," and I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm moving out," and I'm like, "Wait, whoa, what? Hold on." So it was one of those things where that was through unpackaging all of that, we spent 2 years unpackaging and reconciling our marriage, which was fine. Out of 24 years so far, 2 years is a drop in the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally happy, that my kids got to grow up in a because they were younger then. They were probably 9 and 6, 5 and 8, right around there. So they got to grow up in their informative years with a combined household and not split up. So that was nice, and that was one focus that her and I had. But what we found during that process was that we were in a crazy cycle. And the crazy cycle comes from the book Love and Respect. And what it is, hey, I'm not showing you love, so therefore you're not going to show me love. Or I'm not showing you respect, so therefore I'm not showing you respect. And that comes with, not talking about our jobs, not communicating. So another big part of what I talk to people about is communication. Communication in general can open up a lot of doors. You don't have to go into detail. You don't, like HIPAA rules. We're really not allowed to go into detail. We can do some generalities. There's plenty of people that I've seen be like, "Hey, I saw your wife the other day." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, where'd you see her? At the store?" And like, "No, I was in the doctor's office. She didn't tell you?" I'm like, "Oh, hell, she don't tell me she sees anybody we know. Like, that's not allowed. She can get fired for that." Like, I'm like, now that you told me that you go to her practice, I still can't even go back and ask her about what you guys discussed, right? I can just, "Hey, oh, by the way, I heard that blah 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 goes to your practice now." And she goes, "Oh,
Hey,
that's nice."
Lloyd just
She
told
doesn't
me
even
about
agree.
his warts. What did you see?
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, even when I'm like, "Oh, by the way, I bumped," and we're talking about neighbors. I mean, I've got neighbors come up to me years later and be like, "Oh yeah, well, I saw Jen today. She was busybody all around the office." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. You must go to her practice." "Yeah, you didn't know that?" I'm like, "Yep." And then even when I go back and talk to her, I'm like, "Oh, I found out that, this neighbor goes to your office now." She's like, "Okay, that's nice." And she does it, like, it's like she shuts it down. It's so nice, right? But when it comes to what we see at work and what we deal with at work, because she's a pediatric nurse, and there's parents just, I'm telling you right now, it's not the pediatrics that's the problem. It's some of the parents, right? Just like
Mhm.
typical, like when dogs are a basket case, it's their handler, right? Their handler
Yeah.
doesn't know how to control the dog. So, but she has a high stress environment as well, um, and we are now, the communication has been fixed. We've done it with our kids. We don't sugarcoat anything with our kids, at age appropriately, mind you. You don't come home and talk about the crazy stuff sometimes, but hey, by the way, dad had a pretty rough night last night. We had a pretty important call, and just, if I feel a little off today, just, that's what it is. I'm going to do my best to try to get myself in the present to make sure that I'm here for you as well, and I'm not distant. So communication is really the key. And yes, we do share with one another our struggles at work. Now, we get to the point where we're trying, I do my best not to try to get, if it's something that is um stressful to me, and is not, and it got me into a fit of discomfort or anger at work, I try not to get back into that anger at home when I'm telling her what my day was like. And that's the important thing. And we do listen to each other. We do give support to one another, and it's better now, of course, than it's ever been, because we've just got so much practice at it, right? And it's not perfect when you first start out trying to communicate your outside of the home world with your loved ones, but it's just a matter of appropriately and legally being able to explain what you have gone through, and that why you may feel a little off today, and things, hey, what makes me feel good is to sit down and build Legos with you, buddy. If I come home and I'm like, "Hey bud, I know you said earlier that you like to build Legos with me. Let's go ahead and build some Legos for a couple of minutes, and just, let's do something together, so I can get away from what I dealt with, yesterday at work, and I can focus on you. So communication, I think, is honestly the bottom line of what we need to do when it comes to our loved ones and our jobs. And that can be tough. Sometimes people don't want to hear it, and that can be something where a third party person, not a counselor, a moderator of some sort, somebody who is trained to unpackage. That's one thing that when we went through our couples therapy, we were able. Our third party person wasn't like a shrink. He was more of a moderator, right? He was a counselor. And what he was able to do was, like, the words that came out of my mouth that she didn't understand, he was able to, like, say, hey, what he really means in guy talk for you to understand is this. And that's one thing we learned during that process, is that she communicates a little bit differently than I do, and how to unpackage what I'm communicating, right? So that
would be, those moderators, they've got to have nerves of steel, because you gotta go to that point where I'm not trying to mansplain something to you,
right.
But what and I see a lot of times that there are conversations that you're in an argument with somebody where two people are saying the exact same thing, but they're saying it different, and it comes across as you're arguing, and it's like, we're not arguing, we're saying the exact same damn thing. Look, I just say it this way, you say it that way, but it means the same thing. Let me ask you this, because this is one of the things, and see, I wrote this down, and like we were talking about earlier, if I write it down, I'm going to see it after we're done, and I'm going to be like, we didn't even get a chance to ask that. So what are the difference between what are the stressors difference between an EMS and respiratory therapy? Because
that's a good therapy. One. Oh my gosh, that's a great one. So respiratory therapy, if people don't know what that is, we're the ones that deal with the ventilators and breathing treatments. And we're basically, the easiest way to say it, to understand it, is we're a nurse specifically for the respiratory system, airway and lungs. We do have some cardiopulmonary departments that sometimes we do some cardio stuff, and they're combined. But I worked at 3 different level 1 trauma centers. You see all kinds of stuff come into level 1 trauma centers. One of them was a pediatric level 1 as well. So I saw some crazy stuff, kids being burnt, dipped in water, blah, all that kind of stuff. I've seen some wonky stuff. And I think the difference where the stressors are there is you don't really have any downtime. You just have to go to the next patient. And there's also the fact that most hospitals help more people than they don't, right? More people survive their stay at the hospital than die at a hospital. A lot of people think, well, I don't want to go to the hospital. But people die there. Well, people die on our roadways way more than our hospital systems. But when it comes to the stress between the two, when we're done with the run, sometimes we don't ever find out anything about what happened to that person. We're lucky enough now, my department now will have a digital format for our charting, and I can click a button that says follow up, and we have a team that follows up. We have different people for each hospital in our local area that have connections to get in HIPAA permitted, to get the information after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, ever long it takes to get the diagnosis from them of what happened with that person, and we get follow up. We get closure, right, with that. And I think that's a big thing, where for a lot of times people that don't have the closure, the wondering if what I did helped, or if it didn't help, what could I have done differently, and then critique my care, right? So respiratory wise, it's high stress, and the fact that there's, I've had 5 ventilators one time in a 12-hour shift that came into the ER, and 3 of those were overdoses that were dropped off on our front porch, right? You're like, whoa, that's a stressful situation.
Yeah.
That was also for me a very adrenaline rush for me. And it was stressful in the moment, but I knew that I was doing everything in every single moment to help that person survive. And that is helpful, right? So then I see that person walk out of the hospital later on that day, or 2 weeks from then, if they get put in the ICU, or traumas that come in and I see them, after surgery, up because with respiratory, we kind of float the hospital. We're not always in the ER, or we cover the floors, we cover ICUs, and we rotate. So there's times when you see, and you have the ability in the hospital to walk up and see how a patient was doing that you came into the ER. So there's a lot more closure, and a lot more, you see a lot of the things that happen on the backside where they survive or they get better, and that feels good. And you don't have those same stressors that were crazy in the moment. You see things, I mean, I've had a patient where he dove into a pool, broke his neck. Well, I became pretty close to him in the ICU setting because I cared for him for weeks. And after that was all said and done, him and his family, because we got to be so close, they invited me over for a visit at their home to see his home life now that was changed. And he was an ex Big Ten football player, right? And it was one of those things where, I got to see how he, unfortunately, yes, he is paralyzed, but he is living a life and his brain is still intact, and he is still able to have a conversation. And I got to see that. So that the stressors of his injury that were on me during that time, they're not there, because I know that he got to the backside of it with some form of life, right? And that's very helpful. So it is a big difference between the respiratory stress and the EMS stress. Sometimes with the EMS stress, there's things, because I personally, and a lot of us, I would think, a lot of first responders, they operate in the community that they live in, or they're close to, or they
Yeah.
get close to. My specific PTSI, it affected my whole family. The person I was unable to help because they were already gone was actually a friend of my daughter. And when I came home, she was crying, and I'm like, "What's going on, babe?" And she's like, "My friend just died, and somebody I go to school with." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And she looked on my face and knew that I was on that run, because she put two together, that we live really close to where her friend lives, and that I was at work, and then I just came home. And she was like, "Oh my God, you were on that." And I'm like, "Yeah, but babe, I was." And, why couldn't you help her, Dad? I mean, come on. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, sorry, but,
No,
that's one of
no.
those things that, I mean, here's where it kind of creeps up sometimes. It's like, I couldn't help her friend. They were already gone. There was nothing I could do, nothing my team could do. And that hurts, because it's one of those things where you don't want your daughter to look at you like you were supposed to do a job, Dad, and you couldn't do it. Well, unfortunately, they were already too gone before I got there. But yeah, that was the beginning. And then I had multiple runs after that were the same concept, the same situation. And it was like, that was a big one, because it wasn't just the girl, it was her whole family. And mom and dad and brother as well. So it was devastating to the community. It was devastating to myself. It was devastating to my crew. I ended up, one of my groomsmen was best friends with the dad back in high school and early college. There was just too many connections, right?
Too many connections. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a rough one, right? And then a month later, we had 9 of these runs in a row. And and it was like, what is going on? And it was like, okay, hold on a second. There is something not right here with me internally. And it was, and luckily, like I said, I raised my hand and got some help, and I'm on the backside of it now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, yes, you saw me get emotional because, the family factor came into it, and I still think of it once in a while, but it's packaged better. It's not packaged in a way that brings me stress. It brings me understanding, and it's been put in a place where if it does creep up, or if I ever go on a run like that again, which I have, I'm in a better place to know that it's not going to affect me the same way, because I went to my tool bag. I've figured out what tool needs to be to fix it. And then if I ever get back to that case, I know where that tool is. Just like I carry a first in bag. I know exactly where my ambu bag is to breathe for someone is. That's the same concept that I'm teaching when it comes to my course, is that I want people to have a mental first in bag. When they need help, or they don't feel right, or they've built these tools, they've packaged them properly, and they know where to go in the bag to grab the tool that could help them with that. And if that tool doesn't work, what's the next tool? Well, there's plenty of tools out there now. It's not just one-stop shop. There are plenty of tools in the toolbox to help us to package things properly.
Kyle, I want to thank you so very much, and just to let you know, I please send your wife my love, my respect.
I will do.
When you got emotional just a minute ago, and when you told me about how the parents are one of the worst part, you're right. I remember my son being 2 years old, and we had to rush him in because his oxygen level was really, really low.
Yeah.
And they couldn't draw blood from my son. They kept missing. And I remember telling that nurse, and I mean, I apologized to her up and down that night, but I mean, still, I remember looking at her, telling her, you know what, if you stab him one more time and don't get it, I'm going to stab you. I was, my son just looked up at me and goes, Daddy, she's hurting me. And I'm like, you're sitting there and like tears running down my face.
Yeah.
Your kid saying,
and that's a PTSI right there. You don't want your kid to get hurt. I mean, if we had all the time in the world, my daughter got put in the ICU and went on ventilator support because I didn't make the decision properly to get her help early enough. There's that one. That messed me up, because it was like, wait a second, I didn't make a decision, and I'm a paramedic. I should have seen this coming, and unfortunately, I didn't.
There's nothing in this world that'll make your life change worse or more than your kids.
Oh, no doubt.
The decision that you made on your kids. So,
yep, exactly.
Hey, I want to thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I do want to mention this. I'm sure that people are watching this. You see my email address and whatnot, but I'm also putting on a free webinar on March 1st. I can give Zach here the link that people can go and find that webinar and sign up for it. Come to get to know me a little bit more. I have a couple of things that can help you in the moment during that webinar. It's not the full course, of course not. Remember, we talked about 66 to 285 days, but it is definitely something where I want to make sure that anybody watching this, whether you're a first responder, a family member of a first responder, in nursing, hospital work, any type of high stress situation, I really feel as I was building this, that this could actually extend out to anybody in high stress. A lot of the same concepts are anything with high stress, not just first responder and what we see. So, because we know that there's heck, one of the most stressful jobs I ever had was when I was in the corporate world, and developing medical products. That was a very high stress job for some reason. And I'm like, nope, I want to go back to clinical. And if I have to pump on someone's chest, that's a lot less stressful than this world of corporate and all the things that happen in the corporate world. So anybody's in the corporate world know what I'm talking about, but yeah. So
send me that information and we'll flash.
Yeah, it'll be on my website too. He's put my website up there a couple of different times. My email, if that's something that interests you and you want to be a part of it. There's, I'm the only Kyle Goodnight in the world spelled the way that I spell it. I put a K in the middle of my last name. Good Knight in Shining Armor, if you will. I also purchased Good Night without the K just on my website, just so if anybody forgets to put the K in, they still get me. So it's there is one other Kyle Goodnight in the world that is spelled without the K, and I've met him and I've talked to him on Facebook a couple times through chat. But that was pretty interesting. But yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, you know what? Hey, everybody, just remember that QR code above Kyle's head. That is a place where you can go and you can donate right now to help people who go through something similar to what Kyle's going through. We're going to be working with Kyle much, much more here in the near future and be able to take and strengthen what he's got going on. And who knows, maybe next year he will be sitting in the same position as one of our benefactors next year. Kyle, I want to thank you very much. Please keep up the great work. I know that those 36-hour shifts have got to be a pain, but you know what? You're doing wonderful things.
Yep, it's my purpose. So, that's another reason why I need to package things properly. Is this is what I was put on this earth to do, and I learned that back when I saved my mother's life back in 2000. So, that's when I figured it out.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All the love in the world to you and your team.
Appreciate it.
And please take care of yourself and everyone around you. But thank you very much, Kyle, and we'll talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, my name is Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I'd like to take a real quick minute to tell you why we have created a mission for healthy heroes. First responders are our everyday heroes, rushing towards danger when others step away. But behind the bravery lies a silent struggle with mental health. Research shows that 85% of first responders experience mental health challenges, like depression and PTSD. These conditions are significantly more common amongst them than in the general population. Did you know that 35% of police officers and up to 24% of 911 dispatchers live with PTSD? And tragically, first responders are more likely to die by suicide than in the line of duty. In 2017 alone, 103 firefighters and 140 police officers died by suicide. In comparison, 93 firefighters and 129 officers were killed in the line of duty. These numbers are heartbreaking, and they highlight the urgent need for mental health support. Yet many remain reluctant to seek help due to the stigma, concerns about confidentiality, and fear of career consequences. Mental health matters. Support our first responders. Together, we can make a difference. Join us on February 22nd for a mission for healthy heroes. Visit communitypayitforward.us/mission for healthy heroes or use the QR code above to become a sponsor today. My name is Zach Clayton, and I hope you join us. Thank you. We are honored to invite you to the 4th annual Mission for Healthy Heroes on February 22nd, 2025. This day-long event is dedicated to serving those who serve us, focusing on the invisible battles our heroes face: mental health, homelessness, and reintegration challenges. Over the past 3 years, we've shared stories of resilience and hope. This year, we're amplifying our mission, spotlighting 4 incredible organizations that are making a real impact. The donations and sponsorships will go to helping these groups, providing critical resources to all of our heroes, both country and community. You can help too. Share your story, partner with us, or become a sponsor. Every contribution counts, whether it's time, funds, or spreading the word. Join us on February 22nd for a day of hope, healing, and change, because helping one hero means helping us all. For more information, visit the website or contact Zach Clayton at zach@communitypayitforward.us. Once again, that's Zach, Z-A-K, at communitypayitforward.us. I want to give a special shout out and a special thanks to Kyle. Hopefully, he's going to be joining us again this year. We have put more of an emphasis on our first responders, on our community heroes. So his program is going to really fit in right in with what we were doing. So, but again, just revisiting that interview from last year, you know, there was so many things that he said in there that, you know, you really understand some of the things that they have to go through. You understand that, you know, there are Unbelievable. That these are wonderful people in extraordinary pressures. These are people who are doing things that, just imagine putting yourself in that situation. Imagine rolling up, like he said, rolling up on a scene, and then finding out that that's one of your daughter's very best friends. As I had said in that interview, when it came to my son, my 2-year-old son, and he was sitting there crying in my arms, I'm holding my boy, and they're stabbing him, and I'm like, ugh, Well, I damn near lost it. I couldn't hardly handle that. So I want to thank everybody for taking the time to spend a little bit of this Monday with us. You've been watching Footprints Forward, and we are talking about a mission for healthy heroes. Coming up February 22nd, we need your support. Use the QR code in the corner. Let me make it a little bit bigger so maybe you can scan it a little bit easier. There you go. Use this QR code to come on and join us. Talk about who you are. Talk about your story. Talk about what you do. Talk about the programs that you run that support people who need our help. This is a chance for you to make a difference. Make that difference you have dedicated your life to making. If you are a mission that takes care of our heroes in any way, like Kyle's, scan this QR code, tell us your story, and we will find time for you to come and join us on the 22nd. We've got 22 hours. There's plenty of time for you. I want every conceivable veteran, first responder mission out there to come on and tell their story. None of the organizations that are out there are big enough to take care of everyone. So let's make sure we are telling the story of everyone to help everyone. My name is Zach Clayton. I am the president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I want to thank you so very much for joining me today on Footprints Forward. Please remember to love somebody out there because somebody out here loves you. If you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. Folks, take care of each other. We're all we got. And if we take care of each other, we don't have to depend on others to take care of us. Thank you very much. We will join you again next week right here on Footprints Forward as we continue to talk about this. Join us this Wednesday on Pact for another episode for another interview from previous years. And we're also going to replay this last Thursday's family networking meeting on community impact. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. Let's have fun. Let's be safe. And folks, let's take care of people.